Why is it we can't see the situation when we're in it? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, this is Jill from the North Woods, talking about how to take control of your life one small step at a time. Today, we're going to talk about something that sounds almost philosophical, but it really stays with me. And it's not philosophical at all because it matters how we react to whatever's going on in our lives. Think of it like this, that when you're in the middle of something, whether it's a financial struggle, a relationship struggle, a job situation, it is hard to analyze what is going on when you're right in the middle of it. You feel a little bit like you're stuck in the fog. And it's hard too then to come up with decisions or to abandon regret before you even acted on it. When you're in the middle of it, you can't see it. Think about it like you're hiking. I've been in this situation before where I'm at the bottom of a ravine and I can't tell which way the path is. Sometimes paths are really marked well, and sometimes when you're a hiker, there is no path at all. And I always thought about the person sitting on top of the ridge who probably sees the whole situation and knows which way is out of the woods. I have apps that tell me the direction to go, but if you're in the middle of life, if you're in the middle of an argument, if you're in the middle of something very stressful or a bad day, it is hard to see what is maybe really clearly going on, but it's hard to see. And you might go on with the wrong impression. He's mad at me. My boss doesn't value me. This is a disaster. I'm going to lose this house. I need to fix this right now, or this is all my own fault. But weeks and months later go by and you look back and what do you see? More often than not, you go, oh, that wasn't what I thought it was at all, or that wasn't my fault at all, or that wasn't the situation or the problem that I thought it was. Your brain, when you're in the middle of a situation, will fill in the blanks it doesn't know, and often incorrectly. You can hear psychological reasons for this, and mostly our brain hates uncertainty. We're used to there's a tiger chasing us, I have to run. Right now in our modern world, our decisions to get out of situations isn't quite so clear. So we fill in the gap. We fill in the gaps, we invent stories, and our stories are often wrong. We're anxious, we're embarrassed, we're afraid. And this is where a cognitive distortion comes in. First of all, mind reading. Oh, I know what they're thinking of me. They're judging me. Catastrophizing. This is a mess. It's all over. I'm going to lose this house. I'm going to lose my job. I'm never going to be able to retire. Or all or nothing thinking. If this doesn't go perfectly, this is a failure. I was in the midst of a project at work once, and I felt that it was going very poorly. And all I could do was pick apart everything I did that could have been done better. And it's it just looked like a disaster. And when I got through the entire project, 'cause I love to blame myself for things, people were like, "Jill, you really endured that. You really stuck by it. You did this with kindness. You spoke clearly to people and you never got angry about it." And in my mind, I was making a hash of it. And in their minds, I was doing the thing that needed to get done and doing so with grace. But I still don't necessarily believe it. But that's what they really saw in all of this situation. We don't even realize when we're doing it, when our mind is making up a story. And our minds really, in the end, are trying to keep us safe, trying to come up with a direct line of action we can take. And it does that by narrowing our vision. But sometimes that narrowing isn't accurate. I mean, think about a situation like maybe you were offered a job and something about it made you feel uneasy. Maybe you felt something was off in this company. This place seems too disorganized. The manager seems distracted. Think I'll be miserable here. But 2 months later, you run into someone who did take the job. And not only was it a great role, but the manager just had a really bad week, lost a loved one, was tired because they were a week of interviewing people when they had many other things to do. And that gave you this vibe of being distracted, but instead it was just something that was going to get repaired. In that case, your judgment would have been flat out wrong. And it's hard to know exactly what to do in those situations. And Viktor Frankl talked about this as a pause in between. He's a Holocaust survivor and wrote many amazing books, but he said between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space, it is our power to choose our response. It's tempting to react instantly, to hit the send button, to say no to something, to jump to a conclusion, to break up a relationship, to make a snap decision because something must be done. But instead, that space, that little pause, that's where the freedom to make the right decision lives in. And the unfortunate thing is that clarity is hindsight. There was, or another phrase, hindsight is 50-50. We see things perfectly when we look back at our lives. We don't see it so well when we're in the midst of it. And it's humbling. And we think back, maybe that I made the wrong choice, but sometimes we look back too and we say, oh, it really wasn't the end of the world. It was just a Tuesday. And when I changed job at that one company, I found another company within weeks. I thought or like the situation where I thought I had stock money coming my way. It was enough to live off of for a year. So it was going to give me time to find a great job. When I found out that the company had a clause in its agreement that I missed and I didn't have that money, I thought it was the end of the world. Instead, I had a job 3 weeks later and it was happy and I love that job. So there's two different ways to go. That maybe you look at the situation and you saw it through stress or fear or pride or anger, and now it looks a little bit different. Or maybe it turned out to be nothing once the storm has passed. The friend wasn't mad at you, the problem got solved in another way, or you learned a lesson that had changed your life. That me getting that other job within 3 weeks changed my whole bearing. Would that money have been great? Absolutely, it would have been fantastic. I wish I would have had it. But instead, because I got a job so quickly, I was still cashing out my vacation time from the previous job, and then I was able to buy the last car that I had with that money, so it wasn't all terrible. Would have been nice to have that money. The military calls it VUCA, and it's kind of fun in military terms. It's an acronym that means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Conditions where we can't make a firm decision. You're not imagining that life is confusing and that a lot of times we don't know which direction we're supposed to go. We don't know what decision we're supposed to make. And again, we feel like we have to decide it out right away. But the danger can always be in acting too quickly. You might think you're right, and then you're proven wrong very quickly after that. Sometimes you feel like maybe you unfollow a friend because you misinterpreted a message. I had that happen to me, and it's painful, where someone unfollowed me, and I think they misunderstood the situation entirely. You panic quit something because you think something terrible is going to happen, or you hold on to some sort of toxic behavior because you think it's the only way that it's gonna be better, and instead, these are all quick reactions that are wrong, and sometimes then we miss the deeper story. What if instead we took a pause, we took a small step so that we didn't make a big rash decision? It helps slow down our decision cycle. Maybe if something's not quite so urgent, do I have to decide today? Have you ever done that? Where, I've had situations where I thought someone said a thing and it put me into a panic about that situation. And I thought, you know what? It does not have to be answered right now. It doesn't have to be spoken about right now. It doesn't have to be cleared up. So, I used to be that person that if you were mad at me and then you clicked off on the phone, I would call you back that instant. No, let's clear this up. Let's clear this up right now, right here, and get this over with and figure out what to do. I absolutely was that person. And instead, what I learned is sometimes people need a moment to cool off, or maybe something is going on with them today that you just don't know. And so, in that sense, that you have to reflect on that. And this might be a time better spent when you journal, when you can write something down and read it back to yourself. It might give you a little bit of perspective. Maybe talk to someone else who can give you some third party perspective on it. It'll help you come back to something and look at it in a new light. You'll be amazed how many times it'll show you what you misunderstood about a situation or give you some clarity you didn't have before. And it doesn't mean that you were foolish. It doesn't mean that you were stupid about reacting right away sometimes or making the wrong decision. It just means that you're human. So instead, if you start taking a task where you're able to journal about it, talk to a third party about it, Or maybe even do something like write a future self letter. Write yourself a letter in the future. Like, I was in this gigantic fight with my boyfriend, and he was saying this, and I was saying that. But in the end, we realized we were having this whole big misunderstanding. I see now from his point of view where he would think I was doing something out of malice and I really wasn't. So what I did is X, Y, and Z, and it helped clear up the situation, and everything's better now. What things were said, what things weren't said, and maybe something like that, and it would help you have perspective of what should be the next right move. And the next part is too, is sometimes understand that you have to relax, that you might not know the whole picture of what's going on. At some points, you can make a decision, and maybe you have to make a quick decision. But like I said, make the smallest decision you can make so that you can gain more information. But just know that in the end, after this is done, you made the best decision you can. That's okay. And then you understand that the real growth in every situation after the fact happens when you look back at something, that you look back at the job you didn't take that led to the better job, or look back at the job you didn't take and it could have been a great job, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, or the break up that shattered you, but maybe that was for the better, or it taught you something about how to do better in your next relationship, or the weird detour you took in life that introduced you to something new that you never expected. Me going into healthcare IT was not something I expected. I was working for Microsoft, and then I went into healthcare IT. Me? I don't know anything about healthcare, but you know what? I do now. It's one of those interesting things that life takes crazy turns. And so you don't have to be rushed to label anything either. Just like you don't have to necessarily be rushed into a decision, don't label it. That was terrible. This was good. That was bad. Instead, give it time. Give yourself a little bit of grace and give it a little bit of time to unfold. So, what are 3 small steps that you can take today when you're sort of in the midst of it? You're in that valley, in that ravine, and you don't know which way to go? The first step is it's easy to just say, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. It gives you a little bit of breathing time. Even I don't have to make a decision yet. I am still learning what to do next. And it gives you some time to think, to breathe a little bit, to sleep on it, and keeps you from jumping into an action. What else could be true? That's a great question to ask yourself. If you're having this horrible relationship fight with your boyfriend or girlfriend or friend or child, I don't know, child, something like that, consider alternative stories. You might get into a story. That person just insulted me. That person thinks that I'm crap because of X, Y, and Z. Is there a different story there? If you are going to allow yourself to not get stuck in this emotional rut, this emotional story that you're telling yourself. Maybe they weren't ignoring you. Maybe they're anxious. Maybe they're having their own time. Maybe whatever project you're working on isn't a failure. It is something that needs to have a redirection. And then the last step is to zoom out. Try to take the bigger picture. Pretend that you're standing on that hill looking down at the hiker at the ravine. This is a dot. This is a moment and a point. Imagine what that dot might lead to. Imagine what that point is going toward. And if you can just live with this idea that I just don't know right now, and I don't need to know right now, I don't have to solve this problem right now, that is probably the best grace that you can give yourself. I think about things in my life, like decisions I made and choices I made, and I had regrets at those times, but now I look back and sort of see them in a bigger picture. I see them that I was working my way towards something, and instead of being a, a little dot, this was just a point at that moment. So here's the truth. You're not dumb. You're not broken for misreading things. You're not failing for not understanding everything right now. You're just in it. And we don't see properly whenever we're just in it. Everything looks a little blurrier, a little scarier than it really is. So by slowing down, journaling, reflecting, maybe getting some good advice, staying curious, asking those good questions, it will help you walk through this fog until the path becomes clear again. All right, everyone, thanks so much. I appreciate you listening. I hope this helps shift your perspective in considering other ways that you can go about tough times in life. Please remember that you can subscribe and tell a friend about this podcast. And it's also on YouTube. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, always remember you can email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. You can leave a comment in the chat if you're looking at this on a video service. And just remember, it's okay not to know what's going on. Just remember to take a breath and then take a small step.